Okay. Okay. It's a little messy there. I'm trying a new position this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Earthlings. I'm running a little bit late. And I'm trying a new position in my little tiny home to see if the light's a bit better. Just looks a little bit more cluttered this end of the room. But anyway, this is my desk where I do all the recordings. And this is my bed where I sleep. So I don't have far to go. In the middle is my meditation space. So it's a 7.2 meter tiny home. And it's got all I need. And the sun's coming up. Oh, maybe I made a mistake sitting here. Anyway, trying a few new things today. I've got the new mic. So I hope you can hear it. I think I can see quite well. I hope you can hear me okay, see me okay. But as you see, that sun is about to come up and probably make everything a bit too bright. We'll just deal with it, because for me to move from this position is a lot of palaver. Okay. So, and I'm still finishing my morning tea. I've got some green tea, censured green tea. So in the whole setup, you see, I was a little bit late. Anyway, how are you all this day? What day is it? The 12th. Yes. So we're moving into a very beautiful autumn. Had some lovely weather. Perhaps the nicest time of year down here with the light. And yeah, things are really happening as far as I can tell when I bothered to check in on the world front, so-called. But just a couple of reflections about that to share before we move into the meditation. I was reflecting myself how... yeah, no, come in. Jatindra is going to close the blind for me. Oh, I've locked the door. You could pull that down. Yeah, I've got my trusty assistant here who's seen, obviously tuned in and seen that the sun's a bit bright. So she's going to pull the external blind. Anyway, lots of interesting palaver this morning. What did I want to say about the Dharma? Oh yes, the world is burning. All is burning, as the Buddha said. And this was the teaching he gave, actually. It wasn't just a throwaway line. She doesn't know how to do it. You put it on... No. You put it on the outside. Yeah, that's it. Now pull down. It's heavy. Pull. That's it. She got it. She's only a little thing. Perfect. Okay, this is a bit of a comedy session this morning. I just have to thank her. Where is she? Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps I should edit this stuff out. Because that blind is very heavy. And Jatindra is only very small. Just 5 foot, actually. So that was quite an achievement for her to do that. But she solved the problem. And now I know in future, if I sit on this end of the tiny home, because it's only 2.4 meters wide, then I have to pull the blind. Anyway, back to from the sublime, or from the ridiculous to the sublime. All is burning, said the Buddha. It's true. All is burning, he said, monks. And if you look at the state of the world, we have the world All is burning. And what did he mean by this? He meant that all is burning, not literally, although in some places it is, through the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. Okay, so obviously we can see this playing out on the world stage, but it wasn't just to look at the world and go, oh, it's all burning. It's like looking within ourselves to see how all is burning. And he referred to the six senses as being on fire with these three poisons, if you like, of wanting things to be a certain way. And if you look at any of the six senses, you know, we want to look at something nice, a nice looking person, a nice view, a nice you know, a nice comment or something. Our eyes are always searching greedily for the nice, what we want. And what we don't want is burning with the fire of aversion or hatred. We don't want that. We don't want to see the wars in Iran. You know, it brings up aversion. It's awful. Push it away. We don't want to see an ugly sight, you know, an unpleasant sight. We don't want to hear. We don't want to taste. We don't want to taste something awful. We want to taste something nice. So we're always in this kind of inner war between what we want and what we don't want, or we're just asleep to it. We're zoned out or drugged out. So these are the fires that he's talking about, and all is burning. And in particular, the mind, you know, so that's one of the six sense bases. So we've got hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, feeling in the body. We don't want to feel pain. We want to feel nice. We want bliss. We want to feel light. But we wake up, we don't feel good. There's bad. I don't like that. I want that. Or there's neutral sensations and we're just not even aware we've got a body. So those fires of greed, hatred, and delusion are constantly playing out internally, and then we see it externally. But the mind itself, we don't want this thought. We don't want that memory. We don't want this, you know, pushing, hatred, aversion. We want to remember the good times. We want to remember all the nice things people said. We want to hold on to the really interesting stuff and then think ourselves really smart and intelligent. Or thoughts come and go, we pay no attention to them, and that's delusion. So this is what he meant by all is burning. Right? The world's on fire with these three things. And, you know, how do we put them out? This is what we're hopefully joining here today to do, to put out some of those fires. And, you know, it's only when we're completely, fully awakened, enlightened, that the fire goes out completely. And this is what the word Nibbana means. It means putting out the fire. And it's an old Indian term. When someone was to leave the house to go away, they would make sure the fire, all the embers were out. Otherwise, you know, if you don't put the fire out completely, it can start again. So the term was called nirvana in Sanskrit. So this is what complete extinguishment means. Putting out all of those fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. But in the interim, in the meantime, we're practicing to put out more and more of the fire. So we're not burning so much. Wanting, not wanting, spaced out, deluded. Yeah? So, you know, so it is a good question to start with in the practice today. Do you notice that within your own experience, your own mind-body experience? Just on an ordinary, everyday level, that we're constantly in this little, even subtle, push, pull, don't want this, I don't want this moment now, I'd like to do something a bit more interesting. Well, this is boring, what can I do? We're constantly on this kind of cycle of moving away from and trying to move towards. Yeah. So we can take those reflections of the Buddha into the meditation this morning. I've just finished my tea. Yeah, and someone said most people live in fear. But, let's not talk about most people and all the bad people out there starting the wars. We always have to bring it back to ourselves. If you say most people live in fear, the question is, where do you notice the fear in yourself arising in your experience? Because you can't know, it seems that most people are living in fear and hatred. But, even though we can use the external world as a reference for some of what the Buddha taught, and the media is doing this to us all the time, telling us the story of the world, but that's the story that's being constructed by the media. This is the way the world is, and we're going to tell you every day what the world is, send you all the news, very selective news, and then we build this picture of what the world is and what's going on. But do you ever think, this is a very controlled narrative? And it's not to say that these events aren't happening, but it depends who you're tuning into, what's the story that we're being fed. And then people can get very reliant on that narrative. So it's really, when the Buddha talked about the burning, it was to encourage us to look at it within ourselves. Nowhere else can we stop the fire but here. We can't stop the fire burning in the Middle East at the moment. We can only stop the fire here. So it takes a lot of honesty and puts the responsibility back on us to look at these three fires that are burning. Okay, so let's leave the comments now alone. I won't bother with the palaver of trying to turn them on and off when I'm doing it by myself, because it's a little tricky. But I just encourage you, if you're in the room now, just to let go of all the commenting, okay? And that's where you're perhaps going to learn a lot more, is when we stop the narrative and we just really look in silence at what's going on internally. Okay. So fingers off the keyboard warriors, and hands gently resting in the lap. And you can start just by keeping the eyes gently open, if you like. I've got a lovely view to gaze at. If you have a wall or a bell, you can just let the eyes settle, relaxed there. And ultimately, we're not trying to do anything in meditation. The highest meditation is actually non-meditation. Meaning that we just repeat that, because I needed to turn a button. The highest meditation is non-meditation. Meaning that we come to a place where we stop the war. We stop the struggle. And we allow everything just to be as it is. But what we're doing is resting the mind in its natural state. And this might sound confusing for those of you who haven't done a lot of meditation or got a lot of meditation in practice. But just bear with, because often as beginners we start out with an object. We start out as a subject. I'm a meditator. I'm someone doing something, watching my breath, counting the breaths, moving my attention through different parts of the body. And they're all very valid meditation practices to settle the mind. And so I'm not discouraging you from doing those practices, but just for this session, to try something else where you do absolutely nothing. But clearly, there is a need to be awake and to be observant. So we're not spacing out. We're not falling asleep. But neither are we analyzing, examining, controlling, directing. We're just resting the mind. So whatever fire comes up, a thought of wanting, a thought of not wanting, a liking, a disliking, if you don't pay attention to it and run with any of the thoughts, the fire simply burns itself out. We're not wanting anything to be other than the way it is. So if you notice any emotion of sadness or anger, boredom, frustration, so what? Don't fight it. And don't add fuel to the fire. Simply rest the mind. And as you do this, you might start to notice certain bodily knots and tensions start to become undone, loosen. So let the body soften, move as it needs to move to release any tension. Take a deep breath and exhale if that's what it needs to do. And let go of any striving, any wanting, any grasping. It's not the appearances that arise within any of the six senses or the six doors that are the problem. That's no problem at all. The problem is our grasping. Whatever we grasp at, as good or bad, right or wrong, wanting, not wanting, that's when the war starts. That's when the fires rage within. Just keep remembering to rest the mind. What we're doing here is returning to the source, or turning attention back on itself. To notice that the mind is naturally spacious, peaceful, awake. And we can see it as the mind of equality or equanimity. It doesn't demand that things be anything else other than they are. a pleasant sound, the so-called unpleasant sound. Just let it be. Notice how they're both the same. They arise within the space of awareness and dissolve back into the space of awareness. They appear, and yet they're both empty of substance. And this truth, this reality, relates to everything, all the six senses, everything that comes in through the six sense doors. So why fight anything? If we fight it, there is the arising of suffering or stress. So you can see that for yourself too, when that happens. And that's a good learning, a good insight. In seeing the suffering, we should just drop it. And come back to just resting the mind. Okie dokie. So, as I said at the beginning, if that meditation, for those who haven't done much meditation, that can seem a little amorphous, difficult to understand how to just rest the mind without doing anything. So just, if you're new, just continue on with your, breath meditation, body scans, whatever you're doing. And eventually, when the mind becomes more settled, more unified, then you'll start to see how the mind can just naturally settle without doing anything, becoming very naturally spacious. But for those of you who've been meditating for a while, hopefully some of those pointers might be helpful. And so now we have an opportunity for some of the questions that might have come in. I'll just scroll back. But I think most of the earlier stuff was just comments. So yeah, just to make my life easier, if you don't mind, just put questions in. So someone's already asked, what are the 3 fires? I missed it. So you need to go back. When this is ended, it goes into an archive, and you can start from the beginning. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. And I've explained that sutta, but even if you want to read the Buddha's original sutta, that's good too. So someone's asked, what are your thoughts on near-death experiences? Well, I've had a couple. They're very powerful, and yeah, what to say? The problem is that people start talking a lot about them and bring all their interpretations into it. It's a bit like, having an experience, and then what you say is always the things that you add on. It's the memory. And they can get very kind of convoluted and elaborate. But the thing about thoughts on near-death experiences, there's not a lot of thoughts when you're near death or facing into death. And I'm talking more about the death of the ego, although in my case, it really did feel like the body was going to cark it too. Whether or not it was, I don't know. But the main important thing to do is surrender. Because what are we clinging to when we think, especially when I talk about an ego death experience anyway, we're actually clinging to nothing except an idea. So this idea of thoughts, if you still got thoughts at the threshold of a near-death ego experience, then you're really going to suffer. And you do. I can talk about myself. I really suffered because I thought, oh my God, I'm dying. And yet there was no one there to die. But, I was only very young then and didn't have a lot of understanding of the path. And this was part of learning. And the thing is, when I learnt to let go and just surrender, there was peace. But this is what meditation is. Ajahn Chah said, die before you die. Right? And there's so much in that. And that's what we're doing. Even in that meditation, we were practicing dying. We were letting go of all these ideas of me and what's good about the world and what's good about this experience and what's not, and what I want and what I don't want. And we're constantly, this burning thing. And so I was asking you just to let go of all of that, but not to fight it. That's the other thing. We're not going into battle with all these wantings and not wantings, or even if we're falling asleep. Don't go into battle. It's just be aware, let them go, and see them as not self. They're not who and what you are. And so you're essentially dying to all of that. And the more you practice dying before you physically die, the more peaceful will be your physical death. Because you've practiced letting go, and you're also practicing letting go of the body in meditation, aren't you? So you're sitting there, there's pain, discomfort. For some people, there's a lot of pain. And I'm not saying don't take medication to deal with pain, but even if you take medication, You're still trying to just allow and let go, surrender to the pain. So you're practicing it. Well, hopefully you're practicing it. If you're practicing meditation correctly, you're practicing letting go of physical pain and discomfort, agitation, anxiety. You're practicing letting go of these thoughts, these memories, I want this pleasant experience, I don't want this. This is dying. So we're dying before we die. So you can have a near-death experience in meditation, a very pleasant one. When you really die to everything in meditation, find out what's left. What happens when all the fires go out, which is the death. And the only death that's happening is the death of ignorance, really. Those three fires are simply ignorance. And when they die, when those fires die, there's peace. So the question underneath that from Carrie Passion, I just answered that, so that's good. Part 2 of your question. I didn't see it before I answered it, so there, that was helpful. Question from PSA. What are your thoughts on this line by Milarepa? Because I do not wear the lofty garb of priesthood, I am happy. Well, Milarepa was a radical, wild yogi. And I guess what he's saying there, he's probably referring to the fact that some of the monks, or priests, as he's calling them, were kind of trapped within an institution of rules and probably status, what level of priesthood are you? And using priesthood or spirituality as an achievement, as for many as a livelihood, and getting trapped in the institutional thinking, the routines. So he was free of that, because not just because he wasn't part of a group, because you can be part of a group or a ashram and be happy, but he's probably pointing to the fact that he wasn't tied to all traditions and belief systems, I would say, and he wandered freely. Are Buddhists also anti-natalists? I don't know. I don't think they're anti-anything. I don't know. Don't know where you got that from. Okay. Can you talk about moksha, please, which is liberation? I just talked about it quite a lot in that meditation, how to liberate yourself from the attachment, from clinging to all the senses, from clinging to a sense of identity. When we liberate ourselves, free ourselves from those attachments and clingings, that is moksha or liberation. Could you talk a little about how shaping the ego with practices from psychology, such as facing past traumas, may complement dissolving the ego with practices such as abiding in silent awareness? I'm not sure it's shaping the ego. I mean, I know it can appear like one is shaping the ego with psychology, but hopefully, rather than shaping the ego, I would say, dealing with past traumas is about healing and integrating those experiences. But if it's a good psychologist or therapist, they're not just kind of building a new persona around those traumas. Oh, this happened to me, so I'm this sort of person. It's just, a really good therapist will help you just face the felt sense of those traumas, how they manifest in the body, how they get repressed, and gently help you to integrate them. But that doesn't mean you come out the other side with, you know, this healthy ego, because the ego doesn't really exist. So if you've got a good therapist who's, I don't know, got a background in Buddhism or non-duality, whenever you think you've got a healthy sense of self or ego, you're on very shaky ground, because it's constantly, this idea of an ego is constantly shifting and changing anyway, and it doesn't truly exist as a thing. So we can just, face the traumas, feel into the traumas in a psychophysical way, and just let them clear out without thinking that there was someone there in the first place that experienced it, or someone here who is releasing it. So in that sense, the trauma work can very much be about dissolving the ego in a very healthy way that frees you. You still feel that past memory, but it's not who and what you are. So it's not to deny these things happened, but there was never a me in the first place that it happened to. It's only when I continue that story of this happened to me when I was this years old by that person that it concretizes it. And people might say, yeah, but you've got to have a healthy ego before you can dissolve the ego. But I would say start from the fact that recognize there wasn't one in the first place, and you can be free now. You don't have to go back putting together, bandaging this kind of shaky little sense of an ego. And maybe it's a tough call. I don't know. I'm not a super qualified therapist or anything like that. I've done some work in the area, but who knows? Do you have any favorite breathing exercises for a restless mind when trying to sleep at night? One of the best things you can do is deep breathing. So you might do it, while you're lying down, just to breathe really deeply into the belly, hold the breath for a little while in the belly, and then breathe out really mindfully and slowly. You can do that a few times, 6 or 7 times. That can release a lot of restlessness. And of course, oxygen brings all sorts, deep breathing brings all sorts of benefits to relax the mind and to clear out some of the toxins. So, I find, I don't do it very often, but when I do, I do find that actually really helps, just to really deeply rest the body, and then the mind follows suit. So down below, James is asking, I was wondering if movement during letting go is normal. I've had vigorous movements through meditation. Yeah, it's normal-ish, I would say. So, and again, sometimes that can come back to some, it doesn't have to be trauma, but just something stuck in the body, and then some people can shake in meditation and just kind of release something. So yeah, whatever happens is okay. There's no real normal. Anything's okay. You never know what's going to come up for people. So just let it be, and don't waste too much time saying, should that be happening? Why is it happening? Is it good? Is it bad? Am I getting somewhere? Am I doing something wrong? Okay. I need a tissue. Someone's saying, is this similar to the Vipassana meditation of Vesengoenka? Is what similar? I'm not sure what you're referring to as similar. If it's the meditation I just did, not really. Could I sit as earth as my witness until I find the truth? Yeah, I suppose you could. You do it and tell me if you find the truth. I'm not really sure what you mean as earth as my witness. It's just is it a concept you have in your mind? But whatever works, whatever works. Hey, Jayasara, I can't even say my name. So, because some people say Jayasara, and then I've heard someone say Jayasara. So my name is, I'll try and pronounce my name correctly, Jayasara. 4 syllables. I had to count that. Jayasara. Easy. Jayasara. I was wondering if you could tell me the source of these pointers I picked up in a meditation from you a while back. The source. Let go of the past, future concepts, examining, controlling, just rest. Yes, okay. Know it well. So there's 2 meditations on my channel, and that is from the 6 points from Talopa. So you can find the actually, if you just put in Talopa's 6 points, Jayasara, in YouTube, I think there's 2 videos, 2 recordings where I give some guided meditations around that. And they're, I mean, that's a very high teaching, very pared back, pared down teaching, kind of what we just did actually in this meditation, which is like do nothing meditation, effortless meditation. So yeah, Talopa's 6 points, and you can meditate to that. So you always found it helpful. That's good. Yeah, it is. It's good. It's a good one. Louis, when I'm resting in awareness, the sense of awareness does not think or speak, but this sense can move my body. Interesting. Is there more? I wouldn't say this sense moves your body. What's happening is there's spontaneous movement. It's not like there's an agent there. Don't make awareness, or this sense of knowing an agent, like a God that's kind of controlling us, or But from that ground, we'll call it from that ground of awareness, that ground of being, spontaneity arises. So yeah, and then that's when they often talk about non-action and non-meditation being the highest kind of expressions of that, because it's not coming out of a sense of ego anymore, or a sense of me, I'm going to speak, I'm going to move. It's purely spontaneity. So this non-action is action that's not driven by a deluded sense of ego or self. Yeah, and so when you see it just happen without you being there, it's good, Oh, it's just, I didn't do that. And you'll see that more and more. I spoke, I don't know where that came from, it just happened. It's like I'm speaking now. I'm not speaking, it's just coming out. I don't know. I have no idea what the next word is going to be. We all do that. We don't realize it. Because then we kind of layer it with, I said something really clever. But no, you didn't. It just came out of nothing. Went back into nothing. Okay, so with the burning of the world going on today and knowing that we are one, when I pray for others, can that prayer provide rest or peace for my brother who truly suffers in these wars today? Well, this is where faith and trust and surrender comes in. You may not be able to pinpoint exactly how your prayer or your resting in peacefulness directly affects who, what, and so-called brother over there. But we can know, even scientifically, one little ripple, or throw throw a stone in a body of water, it has a ripple effect. So we know that if we change our state of mind, if we bring loving kindness and a sense of compassion in our mind and direct it towards the world, it does have an effect. But don't ask me to prove it, and I don't know if anyone could prove it. But you can prove those, through quantum physics even. You can prove that these sorts of quantums and atoms and molecules have an effect on one another. And that's all we are. So what we've got to try and do, though, is let go of wanting rational proof and evidence-based spirituality. It's going to be called next, isn't it? Evidence-based spirituality. It ain't going to happen. And that's why people poo-poo faith, people who have a lot of faith, who just trust it. They don't need to know. They don't need to see evidence. They have a kind of confidence in their heart that this prayer is powerful, has an effect. And then us rationalists in the West will go, you prove it, that's all just blind faith. But for someone who has really deep faith that's not just blind, they just know. It's the way to go. So you don't have to look for evidence-based spirituality. Just trust that your prayer, you're turning to your mind towards peace and kindness, compassion, it will have an effect. So banana babies. Once on intense mushrooms, I had the sensation of seeing my limbs as someone else's limbs, which points to the fact that my body is a mental construct because I still had consciousness. Yeah, that's right. You don't need mushrooms to see that, though. And, sometimes these hallucinogenics can distort things. So practice seeing that without the use of psychedelics or things, and then you'll stabilize it a lot more. You don't need to go back and take a substance to see that. So, question. In one of the Longchenpa readings, there's a mention of avoiding extremes, and it references the Atman. I'm curious how the Atman is an extreme position. I have a sense, but would love to hear your ideas. So what Longchenpa was probably referring to then as the extreme of the Atman is when people, but this is the same, say, with any extreme like emptiness or sunyata, or even the Dharmakaya. These can be extremes when people cling to them, or even awareness, I should say, as a thing. So probably in his day, this concept of the Atman, which for those of you who don't know, is kind of the self. I don't want to go too much into Advaita or Vedanta, but people would make it into something that it wasn't. The Atman really in Advaita is pointing to, well, I guess you'd say it's almost like the Nirmanakaya. It's the manifestation coming out of the ground of being but it's not a thing. It's not a permanent soul or self. And they never meant it that way, but then people cling to it as this is myself, my soul, I'm ever going to live, and as this kind of idea I have in my head about it. But that's not really what the Atman refers to. And so in Advaita, in Hinduism, you have Brahman, and you have the unmanifest Brahman too. Anyway, lots of concepts there. But really what's important in that teaching of Longchenpa's is don't attach to permanence or nihilism. So a lot of people, perhaps in those circles he was seeing, were attaching to eternalism. The Atman is eternal. It's an eternal soul. And then making something out of it that actually wasn't there, rather than just seeing it as a pointing, as a concept to a manifestation. So there's an appearance. There's an appearance of this. We can call it the Atman. We can call it the Nirmanakaya. But ultimately, it's empty of a self. So hopefully we're on the same page there, Nathan, because you said you had a sense. And without knowing the exact reference, but I think I know it, Longchenpa was always warning people, so was the Buddha, not to go to the extreme of nihilism, which is nothing exists, to permanence, or eternalism, which is something exists. They're the extremes, the two extremes. So we understand, perhaps simply from the Dzogchen position, there are appearances. Like there's an appearance here of Jayasara, and we call it Jayasara. Right? You can't deny I appear. Right? So we're not saying she doesn't exist. There's no one here. But ultimately, this appearance of Jayasara is empty. Because where's the Jayasara? And when this body disappears, is Jayasara gone? Was she there in the first place? Is Jayasara just the body? So when this body dissolves, dies, where's Jayasara? Well, she wasn't there in the first place. It's just your idea of her. So, but I still appear, right? It's interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating, kind of the paradox, but it's also pointing to the two truths, which is another main teaching in Buddhism. There is the two truths of the ultimate truth and the relative. Right? Ultimately, I am empty and there's no Jayasara here. But in a relative sense, there is, because you're speaking to her, or I'm speaking to you, or you're seeing her, right? So there's an appearance. Okay, where are we going? I'm just searching for questions. Oh, this thing jumps. Hello, Grandma. You think I'm your grandma? That's hilarious. I could be a grandma. I'm nearly 60. I'm soon to turn 60. I don't feel like a grandma. I have to go back. I can't find it. Okay, Longchenpa, but there it is. Please only write questions. My right hand tends to activate at times like an energy coming through. I think that, James, you were the one with the body doing things. Okay, whatever happens, happens. It's not a problem. No one in particular has asked, what are the hardest aspects of renunciation that you experience? The hardest aspects of renunciation. Oh, my tea's gone cold. Look, let me tell you a funny story, because at one level, I don't struggle with much anymore in terms of the renunciate path. Like in the early days when I was, when I first started on this path, the hardest part was, looking for distractions. You want to go here, there, you want to watch a movie, you want to do something. And so there was a lot of restlessness, but that's not there anymore. And I don't find celibacy an issue. Maybe in the early days I probably did. Yeah, I think I did. I don't know. But the hardest renunciation, really, if we're really going to be honest, is to give up this sense of self, this mind, these thoughts, and believing in them. That's the hardest part of renunciation. So when we really get to renunciation, it's renouncing the sense of me. So that's what I'm working on. Giving up completely this sense of me, I am. It's a work in progress for all of us, isn't it? And lastly, when I let go with pen and paper, I keep drawing circles. I think, James, you're continuing. Yeah. Okay. You might not respond, but I meant something different by near-death experience. When people are pronounced dead, they experience life reviews, contact with dead relatives. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, I don't have a comment on that. And it's interesting. What if you got a whole lot of pride from all information and now you don't know how to get rid of all pride? So just don't even try and get rid of pride. Just know pride is pride. See how being proud or conceited is actually is suffering, because you're constantly trying to pretend that you're something you're not and fool people. So see how it's suffering, and in seeing it as suffering, it dissolves. Okay, so there's grandma, and do I have a rainbow body? Guys, do you realize that these are all your own projections? Would love to hear about cultivating joy. Well, joy, I think you need to cultivate necessarily anything at one level. When we try and cultivate things or make ourselves full of metta or make ourselves full of this, be very contrived. But really, as you go deeper in the practice, you realize that when you let go of stuff, let go of this idea of me and mine, joy is naturally there. You actually don't have to make things happen. Because we're always trying to control, aren't we, and make things happen. I want to be a better person. I want to be more loving, more spiritual, more joyful. But it's natural. It's already who and what we are. You just have to kind of clear away the dross, let go of all the falsity, and joy is there. That's the best way to cultivate it. And then it's authentic. But having said that, there are practices where you can, like affirmations and even some of the basic metta practices is, may I be well, may I be happy, may others be happy. So if that works, you can do that. But if it starts to become just a kind of a dry rhetoric or, thing that you do, I'm going to do my 10 affirmations every morning and there's no heart in it, then it's just kind of contrived. But if you're saying those things with genuine love and commitment, that's different, If it's a practice that's like, may my day be filled with love and joy and peace, may I spread it throughout the world. And you want to do it. It's not like you have to do it. And as you do it, you feel it and you go, oh yeah, this is working, then do it. But also there's an easier way just to let go of things and notice you're quite happy. You're quite joyful when you let go of all this nonsense about who you think you are. Okay, so I've watched 100 videos from you. And then on video 99, it says, you've drunk poison. Wow. Couldn't they have told me in the beginning? I don't know. I think you're referring to Siddharam Eshwar's videos about the poison. Well, the Buddha said it from the beginning too. He said, there's suffering, and the root of suffering is ignorance. So he said it from the beginning. It's not a secret. And we've all drunk the poison of ignorance. Have you heard the rumor? Carl Jung refused to visit Sri Ramana Maharishi. He figured he didn't want to erase his life's work in one visit. Jung's thoughts on this subject are pretty deep on this subject. Okay. I don't know that one. Awareness. Is the focus on the interior only or exterior? I too to nature, birds and sky. Yeah, good question. That awareness, awareness is not in or out. And the more you contemplate and be awareness, you turn your attention to awareness, you notice that awareness, actually, I think what you're saying more, rather than awareness, is attention. So you can direct your attention to the sky, or the birds, but these are objects in attention, or you say objects in awareness. But awareness itself is not an object. Awareness is, talk about it more. Awareness is like the space, the screen, the background. So when you turn your attention inward, you notice the appearances of thoughts, of physical sensations, of sounds coming within awareness, right? But actually, when you open your eyes and you see the objects, where they're not out there, they're in awareness itself, within our, we know them and we label them. But actually, this is why it's hard to talk about something that's so experiential in words, because you're hearing all these sort of contradictions, I'm sure. But if you not think of awareness, but you kind of have to, because we're using words, settle in awareness, which is like space. Now, if you've got your eyes open and you're looking at objects, start to notice the space around the trees, the space between the sounds of the birds, for example. The sky itself is not really anything, is it? So that is perhaps closest to, even though we don't want to objectify space, but it is a perception. So sky contains it all, doesn't it? The birds fly through the sky, the planes, the stars, the meteors. So move your contemplation between inside, outside, and then you get to see there's no difference. Space, when this body dies, the space that I'm sitting in, is still here. The space inside this body, and there is 99.9% space in the body, it's still going to be there. The space is going nowhere. That is how we can relate to awareness. But when we try to pin it down or catch it, conceptualize it, intellectualize it, even like I'm doing, is a problem, because then it becomes something that it's not. You can only be awareness, and in the being, you know yourself as awareness. But then I ask you, well, can you find it? You can't, but you know it. So it's empty, but you're cognizant of it. You know it. Just saying hi. I was here since the first Ribhu Gita reading. Not that it matters, but it's fun to remember that and to share. Life is a dream and nothing matters. Do you agree? Who are you asking? If you think it's a dream, who's asking the question? And who are you asking it to? And what's this idea of something mattering or not mattering? This is all, again, it's all just things playing around in our head, which is actually creating the dream in the first place. You know, does the sky go, nothing matters? I shouldn't be here, I'm just an apparition. No, neither do the birds for that matter. Neither do the trees. They just appear. As soon as we go, it matters, it's important or it's not important, it's meaningless or it's meaningful, we're just adding layers onto it. Whereas when you just rest the mind has nothing to say, no opinions, no searching for meaning, just is what it is. It's natural. So someone's asking, the chains of samsara are too hard to cut off. I'm hurting the people who sustain me with my aversion. How does someone deal with that? Keep practicing. Keep putting out your own fires. That's all. Let go of this idea. Oh, yeah. Talopa's 6, yep. Sri Ramanayan. YouTube has a 200 character limit, so I'll be direct. My apologies. May I ask you if you have attained enlightenment? Do you speak from a place of direct experience of the dissolution of the self? So funny. Who? If you're a Sri Ramanaya devotee, who are you asking? And who's asking it? If you understand enlightenment, you understand that there's no one there to experience anything. So you question. If I say I have attained enlightenment or I haven't attained enlightenment, I'm speaking from a place of delusion. So your question is not the right question. After listening to satsangs on Vedanta in the last 5 years, I've noticed that I became very calm, too calm for the outside world. People think I am stupid because I'm too calm. Good on you, Anna. I don't know how to handle this problem. But if you're calm, if you're really calm, then it's not a problem, huh? So you're obviously not that calm if you're finding it as a problem. So, you know, you might you might genuinely be spacing out, disassociating. Yeah. So maybe their feedback might be to wake you up from that kind of torpor. You might be, nothing matters anymore. There's no self. I'm already the self. I'm already enlightened. I'm calm. So I'm not saying that, Anna. I don't know what's going on, but the fact that you said you don't know how to handle this problem means that you're not that calm. There's no problem. I feel so connected to Source when I listen to her readings. Whose reading? My readings? I don't know. Okay, lots of thank you. I appear to be suffering. My mind is distracted by the wars of this world. I feel helpless and distracted, and yet I crave the stimulation of these horrendous events. It's funny that, isn't it? We go looking for the bad news, and they keep feeding it. Don't you worry. The media love it when you click on them. There's a petrol crisis. The world's burning. Everything. So, turn it off. You're obviously addicted to the horrendous news. Yeah. And they want you to feel helpless so that you keep buying the narrative. Okay. Time to just look at your own mind and see and work with your own distraction and helplessness. This is what I've been saying from the get-go, of this session. Opinions. Do I have an opinion on Vajrayana practice? No, I don't. Whatever works, It's a skillful means, for sure. And anyway, if someone is devoted to a guru, the teaching in Vajrayana is at the end of it, and I just did some Vajrayana practices, by the way, with His Holiness Sakyatrism. What happens at the end of that, in visualizing a deity or a Buddha or even your guru, is dissolving it all into emptiness. So the guru is simply, it's not a person, it's just a skillful means. And the devotion is about the devotion you bring into your own heart. You can project it onto a guru initially, but then when the wisdom really hits home, you realize there was no guru. It's just a skillful means. It's just an appearance. And then the highest Vajrayana practice is to dissolve all of those appearances into emptiness. Yeah, so that's why we have these in Vajrayana, lots of visualizations to do something pure, skillful with the mind. Otherwise, we're just thinking about all the other distractions. Where am I going? What am I going to get? Worldly distractions, what entertainment. So the guru represents the personification, whatever guru it is or deity, the personification of wisdom, compassion, whatever it is, cutting through. But at the end, it's all dissolved into emptiness. So you don't need to do that practice, but if you do it, it's just understanding what it is. It's a skillful means. Whether it's watching your breath, it's a skillful means. But eventually you have to go beyond the breath and let that dissolve into emptiness as well. I seem to have lost the balance of inner stillness, and yet I know how beneficial this quality is, and yet I don't do it. But you never really lose the balance of inner stillness. It's always there. You just think you do by telling yourself you do and by occluding it with distractions. I don't understand when masters say that the outside world is just the projection of your mind. Can you explain, please? I can explain, but until you see it within yourself, it's very hard to understand this. But at the simplest level, just think of any object. Just take this object. Now, before you were given any language, say as a, 2-3-week-old baby, if you could see by then, I don't know, when babies see. Would a baby see what we call as a bell with this shape, color, which makes a sound? No. We need to create language. We need to create the connection between what we see with this eye, sense door, and this so-called object out here. And then we need to create boundaries in space with our mind. So it's this. So we say, it's not that. A baby would just see, I don't know what a baby sees, but a baby doesn't have language, or it takes time for the baby to see, like mama, if I was mama, or grandma. So it's all created through the mind. First comes the word, and then comes understanding, and then limitations of in space and shape and color. And then this becomes what we call, and most of us agree, it's a bell. But what does a baby see? It takes weeks and weeks, months, doesn't it, for the baby? The first thing They recognize the shape of the mother's face. It takes a while. Otherwise, they don't even know they have a mother. Yeah, until the word mama, which is probably the first word they learn, mama, and then mama gets limited to this face and this breast. Mama, food. Mama gets associated with that. So, but it all has to be created in the mind. I mean, how long do we take to develop as babies language, objects? Long time. But it's all created through the mind, through what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. Okay. So Flynn's asking, will I still enjoy the same things after I awaken, like dirt bike activities with kids, etc.? That's hilarious. I don't know. Who knows? You probably, when people are so-called awaken, I mean, we change our preferences all the time, but, one of the things about awakening is learning that if we're attaching to anything, any activities or kids or dirt biking, we'll never awaken if we're attached to, I don't want to let go, I don't want to let go. I don't want to awaken because then I won't do dirt bike riding. So, don't worry about it. Just relax. Why do people take this spirituality thing so seriously? Crazy. We're crazy. It's jumped. Sorry, if I miss your question, it's not because I'm ignoring it, but because this comments thing jumps. Have you heard of A Course in Miracles? I have. I've heard of it. I don't know. I don't know. I know it had it's got some strange inceptions background, that's all. But I don't know. If it works for you to point you to a place of peace, that's good. Someone's asking what my favorites are in terms of the masters. Well, I don't like favorites, but there's certain ones that I resonate more powerfully with at this time. But it always changes, keeps changing whatever I need. But it's really important not to fixate on who's, I put Nisargadatta up and people, Nisargadatta's the best. He's the best. He's the clearest. He's fire. Or they'll go, oh, he was a smoking beady. He's not good. All these views and opinions. Or Ramana's the only pure one. Oh, and someone, Ramana wears a nappy. Or Longchenpa, oh, he's the best. He's the highest. Oh, he's just wordy. I don't know what he's talking about. See, it's all our views and opinions. And this is why it's important not to attach to, I'm a Dzogchen meditator, I'm a Vajrayana, I'm an Advaita, I'm the best, I'm a Sufi, I'm a Christian, Jesus is the only one. Look, if you love Jesus as the only one for you, great. You've got a lot of faith and it works for you, but it doesn't work for everyone. So, but when we make a teacher who's simply just pointing to the truth of understanding of reality into a person, and then we attach to that club, you see what we're doing? It's not helpful. All right. Some things I can't really speak to, so I'm not speaking to them. Maybe I'll just, it's nearly my time. I'll take one more question that I feel I can respond to. from someone who I haven't heard of yet. There's a lot of questions, isn't there? And statements. So it's a little hard. I got nothing to say. Hi, Jenny. An observation. Oh, it's an observation. My mind lately is very foggy, maybe dull. It seems to seek non-reaction and feels dull. Yet, then it has a wave of anxiety and contrast. It's challenging. Just see it as all the waves rising and falling, Jenny. Yeah? Sometimes it's calm. Sometimes it's dull. Sometimes there's a tsunami. It's just waves. But, you know, the point is to always just come back to that which knows. All right. I think I've come to the end. There's just a lot more statements. And I don't think I had anything else to say other than I hope all is well, wherever you are. It's a lovely day here. So I think I shall go walk into the forest, hear the birds. And Jitindra will be back in 3 weeks' time with her unending patience. You notice that? She's very patient. She'll stay on forever answering all your questions, even if it goes for 3 hours. She's got a true heart of a bodhicitta, that one. Whereas I'm done at 1.5 hours. Enough already. All right, friends. Take care and see you on the other side, whatever that means. And don't worry about just end the war within, huh? Just end the war within. It will change. That's the only guarantee. It will change. This will pass. And if you're stressing about the price of petrol, then stay at home if you can, or catch a bus. It's all right. Lots of love and joy. Ciao, ciao. And I'm ending the stream. Yes, I am.